Have we turned a corner? It seems like this is the narrative that plays out every time a new coach comes and takes charge of the Indian national team. Initially, it's losses, difficulties, adjusting to a new style of play, new doctrine, new philosophy, new selection methods or preferences, and we have some difficult results. We lose a few matches, immediately social media is all about firing X coach, firing Y coach. It doesn't seem to be in our appetite to give a coach a couple of years to figure out the team and get all his ducks in a row. Same thing happened with Constantine. Same thing happened with Bob Houghton. I remember going into the 2015 SAF Championship, Constantine pretty much knew that either you win the tournament or you are out. As it happens with Indian head coaches. You either win the championship in SAF, and then everybody says, oh yeah, you just won SAF. What's the big deal? But if you lose the SAF championship, you're out. That's the way it's always been with Indian football. And the same thing was true for the last SAF championship. I think a lot of people were convinced that if India did not win that one, that happened in Maldives, that was the end of Igor Stimac. We won, but it wasn't really enough to convince any of us that the Indian national team had finally started to fall into place with its style of play, with its approach long term towards the continental championship. Because, I still see a lot of people saying, yeah, we just beat Cambodia, we just beat Afghanistan, what's the big deal? The reality is we are still dealing with Asian Cup as the ultimate goal. We lose in World Cup qualifiers because we don't even think about playing in World Cup. And it's not just because of that. It's a realistic approach. We are not good enough to play in World Cup as of today. Right? That's a reality that we have to live with. But what happened in the Asian Cup qualifiers third round that did not happen in the SAF Championship was I felt a neural connection between the players on the field. And maybe because I was watching the SAF Championship on TV and in Asian Cup qualifiers, thankfully they allowed fans back into the stadium and we could all go and watch the matches. So we could see how the back line of India was moving when the TV cameras would be pointed on the other end of the field. And I'm telling you, this was not the case against Cambodia. The first game, after a bit of a break, some nerves were there, this and that. India got the win. Cambodia were playing a very heavy defensive game, so most of the action was in the offense anyway. But you did not see that flow. What jiu-jitsu people talk about, the flow state, where everything is just happening. Everybody knows their role. Like, there is absolute synergy in the team. That wasn't there in the Cambodia game. Much of it was there in the Afghanistan match, and I will talk about a particular moment. In the SAF Championship 2015-16 final in Trivandrum, Kerala, when Afghanistan scored, there was this huge roar in the crowd of India, India, and you could see visibly the players respond to it. The way they were responding to each other, the way they were communicating and egging each other on. There was a tangible feeling of that rush that comes from having thousands of people back you. And as you know, India went on to win that match. And although it was not a 100% similar situation, but I saw the same effect happening in the India versus Afghanistan match. And especially after India conceded. And the Blue Pilgrims are going to be joining us in this episode. They will talk about what they were doing when India conceded. They played a role in it and the magic happened. So the Afghanistan match was the turning point for the Blue Tigers. And the Hong Kong match was just a celebration. It was like a coming out party for the Indian national team. It was like a coming out party for the Indian national team for this new flavor that was not 100% dependent on Sunil Chhetri for goals, that had a positive outlook towards the game, that had its defense sorted, that had its attack working like a well-oiled machine, that had the fans showing up for them, and everybody was having fun. There are certain intangibles when it comes to making a national team work. A coach can assemble a car, but it's the players on the field who turn the ignition. And I believe that's what happened in the Asian Cup qualifiers third round. We have had 3 difficult years. It was disappointments in the World Cup qualifiers and the second round of the Asian Cup qualifiers. Then COVID happened. Lots of matches were cancelled. We lost a bunch of friendlies. But maybe those were prices we were paying to see the Indian national team finally living up to its potential just before the Asian Cup comes around. And of course, you can criticize Igor Stimac for 100 things. But I believe after being criticized non-stop for 3 years, he has earned the right to speak a little bit. He has been critical of the things happening at the federation. He's been talking about some very relevant things like the Indian football calendar should not be adjusted for IPL, which is something I have been saying as well for a few years now. You remember all those early kickoffs in Super Cup because the prime time slots were reserved for IPL. You know, the same thing that was being done to I-League for ISL was done to Super Cup for IPL. And it's unfair. It deserves to be criticized. There are other things that the coach has said that I personally don't agree with. Like he has said, we should not have foreign players in I-League. And that's extreme because you want professional clubs in India to be geared towards Asian competitions. So if you're an advocate of 3+1 at the Asian level, you should have 3+1 in domestic leagues as well and across all divisions, I believe. Because let's say I-League or League One, whatever it will be called in the future, it's going to be the second division league practically going forward. And the winner of the league will be playing in ISL. So you want them to give a similar rule set as ISL so that they are ready to take on the higher divisions challenge. So that's a point of disagreement. There may be many other points of disagreements that you have with him, and we can do a different episode that goes deep into the Igor Stimac doctrine. And if you have anything to contribute towards that discussion, do leave that in the comment section. We will be taking a look at those and incorporating them into that episode. But the main focus of this episode is on Blue Pilgrims. And the Blue Pilgrims have played a more central role in the story around the 3 match days that took place in Salt Lake Stadium, Kolkata, than usual because of the ticket fiasco that happened, complete misunderstanding of what Kolkata fans think of the national team and how much they respond to it. And even the ticket distribution system had problems with it. It got a little better by the third match, but you know, people had to go through a lot of problems that was never necessary. Now maybe AIFF is to blame for this, maybe the state government, maybe FSDL, whoever it is who took that decision. I just hope they recuse themselves from taking any ticketing decisions in the future. Because you don't limit fans' access to a match. Not in Kolkata, not in Guwahati, not in Kerala, not in Delhi, not anywhere. If it's the national team or a club, you should work towards making sure fans have an easier way to get to the game. And you should make money on it, which they would have. There is no circumstance where they don't make a profit on a 16 lakh deposit in Salt Lake Stadium. An Indian national team match in Kolkata cannot make a loss on ticket sales even if it tries to. So next time the Blue Tigers play in Kolkata, they should try to make a loss. You know, just don't promote the match, price the tickets at 200 or whatever. Just try and make a loss on your 16 lakh deposit and then tell me if you succeed. It's not gonna happen. You are going to make money. That's just the way it is. And it's sad that we have to live in a world where the organizers are not happily taking the money that the fans are willing to give to them and instead just creating a crisis which negatively impacts the fans, the tournament, the image of Indian football, and even the team. You think the players live in a bubble? They don't. They're looking at what's happening. There's a reason why Sunil Chetri was criticizing the way ticketing was done. There's a reason why Igor Stimac, even during the matches, he was criticizing what was happening. Anyway, it's a frustrating topic. But Blue Pilgrims who were in the stadium, they were working with the local fan clubs, chanting for the national team, bringing together fans who had come from different parts of the country. Let's turn the mic over to them now. Let's listen to the conversation, which will hopefully be a lot more upbeat than what was happening just now. So, first of all, like your impression on the significance of the performance that we saw.
It was a memorable weekend, full week. I came from Delhi for a week to watch the three matches, and like it was a complete experience overall. India winning all the three matches, so it was like after a really long time that we won three consecutive matches, especially under a match. And all the three wins were pretty comprehensive. The win against Cambodia, Afghanistan, it was a pretty great comeback. The stadium went mental after the second goal India scored in the stoppage time. And the third match, since we had already qualified for the Asian Cup in the morning after Philippines lost to Palestine, and people were thinking that India might be a bit complacent, but the winning against Hong Kong, which a lot of people feared they might defeat us after they won pretty well against Afghanistan, but like we scored 4 goals with three debut goals for three youngsters, which were Anwar Ali, Manveer and Ishan. So like it really pumped the team up, and the rain and like people kept chanting even during the rain throughout the 90 minutes. So it was like pretty good.
So you guys did not retreat from your positions when rain was happening, right? And I saw a lot of people scurry around, and all sorts of chaos was happening. So what did you see as the like reaction of other fans when the rain was coming?
I think, it's everybody's choice. Other fans, if they decide to take shelter under the rain, it's understandable because nobody wants to fall sick. But for us, it's like the 12 players are playing on the pitch. If they can continue playing, we can continue, chanting in the stands. It's not a problem. And I think when we talk about, supporter culture or supporters, most supporters around the world, even if it rains, ultras all around the world, even if it rains, I think it is in their mentality to continue chanting without retreating. And I think we just follow the same mentality as well.
So you guys, three matches, and each situation it was the situation was a little bit different. The atmosphere was a little bit different, but you guys are happy with the way the turnout happened and the way the regular or the casual fans were working with you on the stands.
Yeah, I was not there for the first match, but since the second, I came from Guwahati for the second and third match. There were certain instances where some regular fans they complained about we were standing in front of the crowd even chanting, and they wanted to sit comfortably in their seats and enjoy the game. So there were some little bit confrontation we had, but eventually like last game we had this experience. But today there were people they were asking where we would stand. They wanted to join us, and those who didn't feel the same they moved away from the space. So yeah, it has been a mixed experience, but overall we had a positive experience. From the general fans, they all were chanting. Even when we went up to the top tier to unfurl the tifo, people were supporting us. When they were chanting down below, even the people Vande Mataram, people in the third tier, top tier, they joined in, and it was good to see people asking us about us and interacting us in a positive way.
So, for the first match, we did not have much chanting. Because I think everybody after 2 years or 3 years of not watching football in the stadium, we sort of we took some time to get into the groove. Also, I feel like it just like happened. So it so happened that everybody just arrived from different parts of the country, or somehow people managed to get tickets none of us were prepared in the first match. But I think the fact that India won the first match, it really, set up the momentum for the next two matches. And we had some time to prepare and, get put things in order. Also, we were able to get permissions for the drums. In the first match, we did not have permissions for the drums. And in Calcutta, if you don't have the drums, it's extremely difficult to, kind of engage the public. I think because the stadium is so big and there's so many people, if you don't have drums and other instruments to help you aid with the process of capturing the public, it is very difficult to make an impact. And I think in this respect, we were happy that the AFF was able to cooperate with us, and it's not easy for them as well, because we got to know that it's not just their responsibility; it's also the responsibility of the stadium authorities, specifically the police in charge of the stadium, and they are very particular about what they allow inside the stadium. And it's difficult even for AIFF and to get permission and get through to the police and allow all of this, because Calcutta always has strict rules, and this is not the first time we've anybody in Calcutta football has faced issues with the police. They have all faced problems with the police throughout. And obviously, this I think is a big step forward, that for the first time the police has sort of agreed to allow drums inside the stadium under some sort of a guarantee from our side, that which will help in aiding supporters to create an atmosphere inside the stadium. So hopefully, moving forward for both East Bengal and Mohun Bagan matches, and even for their fan groups, ultras groups, we hope that their respective clubs can help the fans at least get some sort of a working permission from the police. Of course, again, at the same time, the fans have to take responsibility of that these instruments are not misused, but also the club has to recognize the fact that these instruments help in putting the team in a better place when it comes to motivation. And that everywhere around the world, it is the right of the fans to be able to support the team in the best way. And the club should not take credit for this, or the national federation should not take credit for this, but they should work with their fans, so that as a whole, both these clubs or even the national team can make the stadium atmosphere something which is breathtaking to experience. And the fact, if you allow drums and megaphones or any of these things inside the stadium, it really adds to that. So this, and in the second game, we moved on to the center stand, because we felt that maybe the impact from there would be better, and truly so. In the second match, when we came to the second stand, to the center stand, initially we got a lot of claps from the youth, but after the game started, where we were standing, there was a lot of issues, as he my partner, my friend mentioned, that a lot of people who are not used to standing and chanting, they were creating problems. They tried to get into altercations with us. But at the same time, you have to understand that this is the trend throughout the world. You will always have people who are not used to this sort of culture, and you have to fight them, and you have to fight them with the right way, not with your hands, and overcome this mentality, so that they can actually understand the value of standing and experiencing a game with people who want to support the team in the best way possible. And the best part about it is that most of the people who are sitting in the crowd are youth, right? And this sort of culture is perfect for the youth. But it is just the fact that you have to teach the youth that this is the way forward. This is the way you should be supporting team, not sitting and just watching the match. If you want to sit and watch the match, that's okay. I mean, you go somewhere else. But wherever the chanting section is, if you're sitting there, you have to stand and chant, right? So this has happened in the second match. In the third match, I feel that by then people understood in the section that okay, I mean there are this group of people who will come and use drums and megaphones. So in the third match we did not face too many problems. There were certain incidents. There was a guy who said something to one girl in our group, but again we were able to take him out and ask him to go somewhere else. But more or less over the average, that in the third game it was far more easier for us, but of course the rain made it difficult, but we kept on continuing. We continued to chant for 90 minutes. Yeah.
So you guys have been active in about 4 5 countries so far since your inception, and you have been uh, in many different cities with many different sets of other fans. So are you looking at a momentum building about the ultras culture actually spreading and people being more readily acceptable as time goes on and even more eager to engage maybe?
Yeah, so I feel that the ultras culture in India is developing, especially when we went to the ICC Continental Cup in Ahmedabad, which is not a footballing city. We all felt that the we won't get much acceptance there, and we won't get a lot of crowd who loves watching football. But like we were proven wrong in the first match. When we started chanting, there were a lot of people who welcomed us and started chanting with us throughout the 90 minutes. We were like singing our hearts out. And when we came in the second half, second match, there were some incidents at the entry which delayed our entry by like 10 to 15 minutes. But like as soon as we entered the stadium in our seats, like we received a standing ovation from the crowd, and they made way for us so that we could like go in the center stage, and like we could do all our setups. So like they helped us, like they were like cheering for us that we are finally here, and they sang throughout the match with us. And like uh it was like a really good feeling that like people were welcoming us and like accepting our ways to like cheer the team throughout the match and wherever we travel.
I think you mentioned about Ahmedabad. In Ahmedabad, in the second match, we did not face any issues. We purposely came late as a protest because of the. Sorry, in the third match, right? We purposely came late because of the as a protest because of we wanted to let the federation know that if we don't come in, how is the atmosphere, and once we come in, what is the atmosphere like? So the moment we entered in, like we received a standing ovation because everybody was obviously missing us because the last two matches we had created an atmosphere, and when we walked in, everybody stood up and they started clapping for us. I will never forget that, and this happened this time too in YBK as well in C2. Initially, in the second match, when we came walking in, there was a few people. I think 2 3 rows of people who were clapping for us, and for us that this recognition, in the sense that the recognition doesn't have to come from the AFF or from the media, from any newspaper. The recognition has to come from our own people, and if they think that okay, what we are doing is good and they are clapping for us, we keep on getting motivated to continue and travel to more places and convince more people to to support Indian football in a different way. And ultras culture, I think for us, we are not the first people who have done it. In Calcutta, in Bangalore, both for East Bengal, Mohun Bagan, and everywhere in other places in India, there have been groups which have existed. So for us, we have come a few years after they have formed, but the fact that they already existed made it easier for us, and we always respect that fact. And we have always said that without these fan clubs, without these individual fan clubs and individuals who are running these fan clubs on a day-to-day basis, every week in week out, it would have been impossible for us to create the sort of impact that we are creating today. So we are always thankful, and we are always welcome to all of these fan clubs to join us in the stands or whatever it is. I mean, we don't have enemies, and even we have had differences with them in the past, but we don't have enemies. We are always ready to open our hands and welcome people, so that at the end of the day, you're supporting India. So it doesn't matter if you belong to some other club, as long as you. It doesn't have to be that you have to be a part of Blue Pilgrim, but as long as you support India, we are happy with it. Yeah.
Like we had a very different experience, as far as Ahmedabad and Kolkata is concerned. As Ahmedabad is already, we all know it's not a footballing city, and Kolkata is, on the other hand, it's called a mecca of Indian football. So what I feel personally was, it was actually easier for us to get people, attract people in Ahmedabad, because when we entered there, we had that people, it was something new for them. It was something, they actually looked upon us. But in Kolkata, it's a very different feeling. Kolkata people, they have their own pride. They're the East Bengal fans. They have their own this one chance. The Mohun Bagan Ultras, they have their own, different groups of fans. They have their own, way of supporting teams. Even the altercation we had with the fan in the second match, the person, absolutely, the way he was talking, he also is a football fan, and the way they enjoy match, the way they support their team is different from the way we do. So it's difficult. Actually, I feel it's more difficult to to engage fans in a place like Kolkata, where there's not only a football culture, but there is a rivalry which exists already. People from different cultures, different teams supporting different teams. So in Blue Pilgrims, we always find this problem here in Kolkata, that to bringing fans together is a big problem here. To bring, we have Mohun Bagan. Mostly the people that I have experienced, I have met, they are mostly from the Mohun Bagan side. So it's very difficult to convince the East Bengal side, to come and join with us. Although they are, they do come and meet outside, but they generally don't like to mix up with us, when in the stands. So I feel Kolkata is tougher. And for me this time, because I had come for the first time in Kolkata during the Bangladesh game, for the Bangladesh game. So from then to now, I think it's a very big achievement for us, I feel, because this time the acceptance was much more from the, I have been into 3 games since then. The Bangladesh one, then the match against Afghanistan, and today it was a totally different experience. People, the acceptance in the last 3 or 4 matches has, it has gone way up. I think the fans also, they acknowledge that, the effort that we are putting in. They understand, they realize that we are there for the game. It's only we are there for supporting the team, and not going into rivalries and all. People are starting to understand this slowly. I hope in the time, we had interacted with a few Mohammedan fans. I think today they wanted they wanted some help from our side, because so I feel, yeah, in the long run we'll be getting, I hope we get all the 3 big fan clubs, and of course the other clubs as well.
So some of you have actually traveled from different states. So how did this very unique ticketing experience that we experienced, where we could not just buy up tickets for all 3 matches beforehand? There was an element of thrill to it. There were twists and turns, and novelty to the whole process, where you had to press refresh, very refreshing experience. And whether you got the tickets or not, it was almost like a stroke of luck, because everybody was trying to get it. So how does it affect your plans to travel from another state, to support the national team, if you don't have that guarantee of a ticket that's already available to you?
So yeah, it affects the fans a lot. So I'll state my case. So like, since tickets were not released earlier, I think they were released just a week before the first match. So like, I couldn't book my flights in advance. So like, I had to pay twice the price since I got the ticket. So like, I had to like cough up a lot of money to travel. And then in the second match, like we are a group of a lot of members who like, we like to sit together. So like, we were trying to book from 3 to 4 devices so that all of our members can sit together. So like, we were just refreshing when the time stated by AIFF like started.
Same thing in the third match.
Yeah, same thing happened in the third match. So like, we had opened like 5 to 6 devices, and then we were trying to book the seat that we wanted to sit. So like, it was like a lot of pressure, chaos, everything.
But eventually, in the third match, we had to, we went and, because we could not, we went and took down the names of everybody, and then we got the tickets together So yeah, I mean the problem is that the for us it becomes like a logistical issue, because we have people coming from different parts of the country, and many people could not travel in the last minute. I was not staying in Calcutta, like even though I'm from Calcutta, I was staying in the mountains, and even in the last minute I was thinking whether I should come or not, because for me it was like a 14-hour bus ride to Delhi and then another 18-hour train ride to Kolkata. And I was like, every time I was thinking of doing this journey, I was like, I don't even know whether I will get a ticket. Secondly, whatever is going on in Indian football, like I don't even feel like I should be traveling. And I was somehow hoping that they would not allow fans and I would like I would not have to make that journey. But such is the thing that it's compulsion at the end of the day, that whether I feel like it or not, I have to come. And once I came, I would say that it was the best decision to make, because I am not disappointed, and I have never experienced anything like this in Indian football before, like 3 wins in a row. And for the first time I will be traveling back somewhere very happy. And as I said recently in the Twitter spaces, it's not that you get to sleep 3 nights in a row happily for an Indian football fan. And today we hope that this is not an outlier and this keeps continuing. But the tickets better be an outlier, because this cannot be the standard moving forward. And Indian football, whoever's running the federation, has to realize the importance of fans and the importance of releasing tickets early, because that gives people, a lot of indecisive people, time to decide and adjust and shift their plans elsewhere to make time for football, even for one match, right? And if you release tickets 2 days in advance, 3 days in advance, even a week in advance, it becomes very difficult for people to travel. If you have to release tickets at least 2 weeks in advance, and you have to release, I have to publicize the whole event at least a month and a half or 2 months in advance, because you have that sort of information with you. So what is stopping you from putting it out and making people aware about it, right? So it will only help Indian football, because you see that we are lucky because this is Kolkata, right? If this is not Kolkata, if this was not Kolkata, we would have had difficulty to get the amount of people we've got today in the stands. And we hope that the right of football fans is not taken away by making it difficult for them to get access to tickets. At the end of the day, when you're putting out tickets like this, and it's like a lottery that you're playing every time their tickets are being released, fans are put through a lot of stress, right? And they are put through a lot of unnecessary speculation and anxiety, which is not necessary. I mean, which is not right, because it really shows that at the end of the day, your perspective about fans and your respect towards fans is at a very low level, right? So I'm not blaming the AFF completely, because we know that at the end of the day, a lot of these stadiums and the regulations surrounding it is not in the hands of the AFF. And India is a very big country, and football is not the preferred sport of most political parties or whatever it is. So getting access to these stadiums and getting permissions for these stadiums and getting police permission and all of that is tough. But at the end of the day, the AFF should stand up, recruit the right amount of people and start negotiating from an early, with these governments, whoever state or local governments, from an early time, so that for them it's easy to say that, okay, they did not help us or whatever it is. We understand completely. We understand that there are challenges. India as a country is very difficult to navigate, especially because of all the red tapeism and bureaucracy that exists. But at the same time, this cannot be an excuse. We can week out, right? Every time there has to be changes made. So you have to hire the right kind of people who can negotiate, push these governments. And if these governments are failing to help you, in that sense you move to a government which is agreeing to help you, right? So at the end of the day, it's all about making it accessible. The sport has to be made accessible to people, and if the people do not have access to it from an earlier from a long for a sizable duration of time before the Indian national team plays, then that identity building does not happen. And right now, with the kind of reputation Indian football has, identity building and popularizing the sport through broadcast and you know public relations in a way which is honest and true is also very, 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 very of primary, should be of primary importance. Yeah.
So, since you have the experience of traveling to multiple cities and even abroad, just could you just give us an idea of how different it is to book a trip when you have the tickets in hand and like when there is no guarantee of tickets? For example, you were here for the India Bangladesh game in 2019 in the same stadium, and these matches. How different was the planning process,
Also, we
and
came
whether
1 hour late. Then also we came 1 hour late. We have to go out and take it with this ticket.
Yeah,
He's
of
like
course.
AFF only. He thinks that he can walk in any time and people will take care of him.
Yeah, people like you, I don't have to worry. Yeah, of course, there's a different. It makes a huge difference. For in my case, I had my friends here who could collect tickets for me, but I have more friends in Guwahati who were planning to travel, but they were not sure of getting a ticket. So there was a news that their fans would not be allowed again. Just a few, not even a week back before the tournament. I mean the qualifier started. So we were discussing in our group, and one of my friends who is active in the in football circuit, I was asking around like who traveling to Kolkata. Oh, you guys, anyone else want, if they want to join? And one of them said like, yeah, the tickets. I mean, they are not even allowing fans. What will you do going? So that this was happening, just not even a week before the tournament started. So that you can imagine the amount of chaos there was, with the federation and everything. So so this actually affects a lot. The so many people, at least I know 4 or 5 people who were planning to travel, but then because of this uncertainty, they had to postpone. And after I came, I asked my friends to join for the third match. They were not certain about getting a ticket. They were asking me whether I can arrange a ticket for them, and even I was not sure whether I can do that. I cannot make a promise to them because the people who are from Kolkata, they themselves are not getting tickets here. The first day I came, I reached the stadium just before the match. I think I reached at 8:20. I think before the stadium, and luckily I had my friends who came. You had kept tickets for me outside the stadium. But even after that, I was not allowed to walk into the ramp which was designated for me. Because apparently they didn't have enough security staff or people maintaining the crowd, and there were a lot of people inside the stand where I was supposed to be, and they had closed off the gate for that. I had to at least there were around 15-20 people who were supposed to go inside the same stand with me, but the police, they somehow convinced them to go to another stand. But me, I had no option because all my friends traveling from all over India, they are waiting out there. I came all over India just to join them. The atmosphere, watching a match is not for us, for as a being a part of this group. Our aim, the motivation of watching the game is different. Not just watching the game, it's to create an atmosphere that we try every game. That is our basic aim, what we do. So if I cannot do that, if I go to another stand alone, it becomes a very difficult process. So I wanted to join with the crowd. So I was able to convince the guys who were checking the tickets. I requested them, and 5-10 I even threatened them. I had to use threatening because I was holding a legitimate ticket which was designated for that stand, and somehow I was lucky enough to reach the stand. I was already 10-15 minutes late when I went in, so I had to stand outside the gate because of the mismanagement. Of course, it makes it a very difficult situation when management don't plan things out properly.
So, if this fiasco regarding tickets and the general apathy from administrations, all these things turn out to be a transient bad phase, what are the next phases that Blue Pilgrims is planning? Are there new activities? Are there, or more of the same but bigger?
It depends actually. It depends on where we are going, where we are playing. I think for us, making tifos every time is also difficult because obviously for us, raising funds has to come from the public. We don't have other means. We pay from our own pocket, and also we do fundraisers and people contribute. So it's always, you know, it's a challenge that like to do like a banner or a tifo every, because all of these are expensive. It costs about anywhere between 20 to 40,000, 50,000, 60,000, depending on the size and whether it's being printed or whether it's being colored or whatever it is. So yeah, I mean, but we hope that the public will support us, and whenever India's playing, we can raise enough funds to produce a creative display. If not, it's okay. At the end of the day, we can always create a display with our voices. And whenever we have the opportunity and enough funds, we will continue to make banners or tifos. Yeah. So, and also, I mean, we have to really appreciate the fact that the kind of support that we received in Calcutta, especially from Marina's base camp, the Ultras of Mohan Bagan, they have really, really supported us with the manpower and a lot of the logistics and everything. And even during the 2019 game against Bangladesh, they were very supportive, along with other fan clubs also. But this year we did not have the time to pull everybody in together. But Marina's base camp was always was there for without having to even contact them. And we're really thankful, and hopefully moving forward, we can grow. If we play in Calcutta, moving forward, we can even make this even bigger and include more and more people. And because I feel like the chanting today was insane. I mean, uh, sometimes I felt I was in Indonesia, where there's 90 minutes of chanting, and for me it was amazing. I will never forget it.
You guys, are you finally willing to accept that Kolkata is the best venue for the Indian national team and not Kantirava?
Yeah, I think so. We can say that. There are goods and bads about Kolkata, but like the reception we've got, the support we've got is like pretty good in Kolkata. Even during the last match against Bangladesh in 2019, we got a lot of support, and like it was amazing to see. Even before the match started, we did our pre-chanting before at like 2 to 3 hours before the match, and like people were amazing. The reception was amazing. We even got some press coverage from a lot of people, and like people kept joining us. They chanted with us for like 1 hour before the match, and like they were asking us where we are sitting so that they could also join us in the stands, chant for the 90 minutes. So yeah, I think Kolkata, and even the crowd in Kolkata is pretty good, even the normal crowd, those who don't chant. So like it's good to see a stadium full of people cheering for India wherever we go. So I think yeah, Kolkata is definitely the mecca of Indian football.
Yes, that felt really good coming from.
Yeah, Kolkata definitely is the best by far up to till now.
But we are
Yeah,
yet to
yeah. Of
explore
course,
other
we are yet to
places.
explore. Yeah,
Kerala
at least
maybe will
Kerala.
be
Kerala is one place I want to experience before announcing at least. And Goa, another place. And
we've been in Goa. Goa was also good.
I have not been in Goa, so I cannot say for
We
myself.
actually don't want to. Obviously, everybody has different opinions, but if I have to say that, then I don't want to compare. Because every place is beautiful in its own way, and even Kantirava, even though they don't like us, I think so. We're just kidding. But even though, I mean, of course, the support that West Block Blues is given before. In the past, before Blue Pilgrims was also formed for the national team, is insane. I mean, under 17 World Cup was going on one side, and the match was being played in Kantirava. Guam.
scored a goal.
India
Robin
was
Singh,
yeah.
that long range.
That qualifier match. Yeah.
India
that
was
one World Cup qualifier match.
yeah. India versus Guam, and even when Chetri scored that goal with Anant Tyagi, in the crazy, I was both of these matches, like the support from West Block Blues was really amazing. I mean, and for in many ways, I would say that there are a lot of people who was a part of that initial Blue Pilgrims also, who are from West Block Blues also. I mean, and we've to be honest, that to say that okay, Kantirawa is not as good as Kolkata is not right. I would feel, but I would say that in a way, Kantirawa probably was a precursor of what I mean. We had some standards to live up to once that we had seen that India versus Guam match, and of course we are always happy that people set us standards for us to live up to it. Yeah, so yeah, I mean it's always good atmosphere in Kantirawa. It's good atmosphere when you're watching in Kolkata with East Bengal or with Mohun Bagan, any of these clubs, because at the end of the day, everybody puts all their effort to sing and chant, and no one's better than the other when it comes to the national team. Everybody's the same. Yeah, so
Yeah, of course. Only kidding. We all love Kantirawa. Hopefully, Bengaluru FC continues there, and Mohun Bagan goes and beats them again, as they always do.
We'll be in the podcast.
Do you know, like Mohun Bagan has won more trophies at Kantirawa than Bengaluru FC? Man, final word to you, man. Just one memory or a couple of memories that you are going to take from these 3 match days.
There's so many memories. Every moment has been a memory. Actually, this trip, the whole trip has been, it has been the best for an Indian football fan till off late in the last 10 years, 20 years maybe. We never had. So, but yeah, today after the match, one moment which yeah, of course we would love to be acknowledged by the fans, and of course when the players do that, when the people, those we are singing for whom we are standing, when they do that, it makes it even more special. So when Sandesh Jingan, I'm saying this, I'm still having goosebumps. Sandesh Jingan coming up to us and then asking for that Vande Mataram chant. That moment, it will be very special. Yeah, he was. We were shouting. Everyone was, when he came around, people were cheering his name, and he just asked us to just keep quiet, and he was just asking us to chant Vande Mataram. And after that, Ishan Pandita, a youngster in the team, he scored his first goal. He came around and he did the Viking clap with us. And then, of course, the captain, fantastic. He came after everyone left. He came back and he came towards our stand, and he acknowledged the effort that we put, and that encourages us, to do even more, to support the team in a bigger, better way, every time. So that is the moment I would like, that moment is big for me and for all the fans who were there.
I think for me, the best 2 moments was in the second match, because I remember I think that chant, which is India, Mera India, has become quite viral, and it was like the chant is a sort of a trance, and it sends the entire crowd into a trance, and it can go on and on and on for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I was like, like whenever India was on the pitch, they were losing concentration, and I was like, we have to do this chant. And I remember at one point of time, we were doing this chant, and India was picking up momentum, and they were pressing. But at the same time, it was almost 7-8 minutes when we had already done the chant, right? And we were like, okay, another 1 or 2 minutes, we are going to close this chant. But I kept shouting that goal habe. We have to continue doing this chant. Goal hoga. We have to continue. and then everybody in the stands, where the ultras was there, and I kept shouting at them, "We have to keep singing, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop." And we kept singing, and India scored that first goal. And then again, when Afghanistan equalized in the next minute, and then everybody was down, and we were like, we have to do it again. We have to do it again. They will score. We'll score. And again, we kept on singing. We kept on singing. We kept on singing, and we saw the change on the pitch. When the chant went out, it started ringing. Throughout the stands, we saw the change on the pitch. We saw the tempo pick up. We saw the players, fighting for the ball. We saw the players pressing. And we saw the players, playing with confidence. Even after the goal we conceded against Afghanistan, everybody was down, and then we kept on chanting, and then again I said, "Don't stop, it's not over, don't stop, we will score, we will score." I kept shouting into the mic, "We will score," and nobody stopped, and then we scored, and then for me that was like, the most beautiful feeling ever. Like the first time was beautiful, second time to do it again, was beautiful. And the funny thing is that if you had not traveled to a different country, we would have not learned about this chant. This chant comes from Ultras Nippon, from Japan. And when we went to the AFC Asian Cup, we met the founder of Ultras Nippon, and we learned. We watched them and we saw them doing this chant, and it's a very simple chant. And the good thing about this chant is that nobody needs to know any lyrics. Is just one line: "India, India, Mera India." And for Japan it is Nippon, Nippon, Vamos Nippon. And it can continue for hours and hours, and it doesn't feel like you're singing. And to me, it's one of the best moments, because that is the first time I actually felt that what we are doing in the I could observe what we are doing in the stand is actually translating on the pitch, right? And that was, like for me, it was like I started crying. It was amazing. Yeah, I cry too much in football.
So best experience for me would be the players coming towards us at the end of the third match. But like if I have to highlight another experience, it is from the third match as well, when it started raining. So like it was beautiful to watch the match when it was raining, and all of us were still like in the stands and chanting throughout the 90 minutes, and it like felt really good because like it was pretty hot and humid like before the 30 minutes, and like we were all sweating when we were chanting, all our throats were drying up. But like when it started raining, like there was a shift in momentum, like everyone started enjoying it, and like we kept singing louder and louder throughout the match. So like that was like pretty beautiful.
Yeah, also they should allow water, man. They should have some concentration. For us, it's so difficult. Our throats become so dry and we can't, it's difficult to sing. But, oh man, I mean, in this heat, if you don't allow water, you're just, especially with what happened with KK, and all the stuff, it's just stupid to not allow water into in the stands. I mean, I understand the issue with bottles, but at least keep the taps working. Second, yeah.
Polythene.
Yeah, they can distribute polythene water packets. I mean, we are lucky that something didn't happen again. The heat was unbearable. First match was unbearable. Second match was quite bad. Third match, we are lucky it rained. But it's difficult. It's torture for people.
All right, thank you guys. Personally, like it's been a privilege just watching Blue Pilgrims grow into this massive influence in the football zeitgeist that we have in this country. And I think if I'm thinking about like what is next and what new direction should we see Blue Pilgrims grow, one wish that I have is seeing Blue Pilgrims create an atmosphere outside the country. So you gotta think about which country and which tournament it's possible to have 30-40 Blue Pilgrims. I mean, it would have to be some country that's very close to India, easy to travel to, cheap to travel to, doesn't require...
Cheap to travel to, then I think more than 30 people, because UAE at least 70-80 people traveled. But if it's this time in Japan, South Korea, I think it'll be expensive for a lot of people. And hopefully, if we can manage to take at least 20 people, I will be happy. 20, 30 people would be happy. But I would request everyone to start saving from now. Just consider it will be 3,000 rupees per day, with food and stay. That should be enough for Japan. Korea is actually cheaper than Japan, so maybe 1,500, 2,000 rupees a day for Korea. Flight tickets should be about 30,000. So if you can, I know a lot of people are not privileged enough to be able to do so, but if you have the means and if you can do so, spend your money wisely is all I have to say, and already start saving, because it's an experience you will never forget. Because if you ask anyone from who's traveled to UAE, they will never forget that in their lives, and they will always say that that was one of the best top moments in football for me. And even though we came back with a broken heart, it was so much fun just going together, just staying together, eating together, stunting together, traveling together, sightseeing together. So it was so much fun. And that whole thing about community is so important, and that is what fan groups are for. It's just basically, one of it is of course to support the team, the other part of it is all community. You make new friends, you hang out with new friends, you're always traveling. I didn't know these guys before Blue Pilgrims. Now whenever there is an India match, they're always at my home, they're staying at my house. So when I go to Guwahati, I'm staying at his house. When we are in Delhi, we are always either meeting or staying somewhere together or whatever it is. So in Bombay, we have or the same thing, best for traveling fans. It's just a different feeling altogether. And and these bonds that created, it's very difficult to take apart. So I would request everyone to, if you have the means, start saving, so that you really can experience something different. Not just the chanting is part of it, but just traveling together, moving around together in a different country is just a different feeling altogether.
And of course, thanks a lot to the Blue Pilgrims members who participated in today's discussion. They don't use their names, but send them some love anyway. And thank you for listening through the whole episode. You're awesome. See you next time.